It's a new day. We put the floor on after we ran our alternator cable through the floor, and then we realized we didn't even need it, and we did it on the side here for our isolator. And we wired everything up, so we used the wires here, and then anywhere we drilled a hole here, anywhere the wires came in contact with the metal, we just went ahead and put this on it. It all runs down. I haven't really assessed this yet, but we're getting close. So everything runs from this side up and around. I got a switch here. It's going to do all the lights. So I ran all the power in and out here. Ground cable is in, so the batteries will go here. This cord happened to come with my keyline battery isolator, as well as this cord. I believe this is 4 gauge and this is 2 gauge. So, and then these are already on there, but I had done another one. It was pretty easy. So the idea is this will ground my battery bank, and I'll set that up here in a bit. Alright, so what we have here are 200-hour AGM batteries, 100 amp hour. I'm going to wire them in parallel, so it's going to make 200 amp hours with 12 volts. So here's my wires. I've cut and crimped them. What I'm going to do is connect these here, and then I'm going to do the same on this side with my ground, and then from earlier, my ground cable that I just set up to the side of the car here, and I'm going to set that there, and then I will set up the isolator from here to the car. Here's more examples of how I wired up through there. And then down here, I just ran one of these all along, and then anywhere it's split off, and they come in contact with the metal. I don't know if you can see that. They got I also use these. I haven't tightened them yet, but those help a lot. You can see on this side. So real quick, this is how I did all my cords. I'll show you here. I use these like foam.
Like pipe.
It's like
insulators. For
pipe, but I use it for these quite a bit. It works really well. You can see it there. Anywhere I kind of cinched it down, I put the pipe on, that stuff on there. It's the same stuff I use for the long alternator cord here, and then I just cut it in half so I could use it twice, and then I wrapped it up with electric tape. And I also have these thicker plastic conduits. Anywhere I go into a hole, it will come out like this. So here's a good example of how extra precautious we were. So I just wrapped extra Reflectix around this because it comes close to these screws. So I really extra tape, extra Reflectix, and then here you can see, here's just one that is on our roof. So I got the plastic conduit, electric tape, this foam pipe insulation, and like I said, I just bought one and cut it in half so I could use a lot of it. and that goes back into the plastic. So
That thing was only $1.
this was like $1. So take an extra precaution just on all the wires. We're back. So I have this coming out from my battery. I want to split it. So this will go to this 12-volt switch I have. And then from there, this will split and come up and go to a switch and turn on lights along here. So this is the cord that comes from my fan, and I'm just starting to wire some appliances, and this goes to the battery. So what I did is I cut them and I stripped them, and then I shoved them in, both of them in this type of thing, and then I just crimped it like really solid, like I couldn't even pull them apart if I tried. And then, you know, that runs down. Then I'll show you my setup. I'm pretty proud of it here. We're working on wiring our switches and all of our lights. I didn't see crazy amounts of info on this, so this is my switch here. Right now I'm working on wiring a fuse, a little fuse holder here. I'll put a fuse just right onto my switch there, just to protect anything from happening. And then, so how the LEDs are wired is, I just have the cable coming here, that goes to the battery, then this comes up, and then I just kind of cut it and spliced it 3 ways with these little twist knobs. And I just did that, and I basically just did a circle around, and then to the end, the last light, which will be the end of the circuit. So that's how I'm doing it. I didn't see anyone really go through how they wire their lights, but basically each positive and negative has a break off. And then I have these dream lighting, and then they just have the 2. So then just connect those and then put them in the roof. Alright, so I put the solar panel on. I got this little cord box. It's actually pretty cool. It has the MC4 connections built in. I don't think you're going to be able to see it, but so I drilled 2 holes, then I ran the cord through. Now I'm just about to caulk the holes and then butyl tape the outside. Butyl tape. And I'm using lap sealant. Panels all hooked up. Let's see. Charging the battery. And then you can see here, when I turn on my switch, right now I think I just have my fan powered. Turn on the fan. And you can see my load just from the fan, 3.2 amps. So we had the fridge plugged in earlier.
Yeah, the fridge is pulling 4 amps.
Now it's 1.4 at a lower amp, so the fridge is pulling 4. Very happy with this setup now that it's almost done. this is the finality of our electrical system. I'm going to give you the easiest rundown to it all. So, first off, the batteries, they're all wired in parallel. So I got 4 gauge red wire. I crimped on each end battery terminals, and it goes red to red, red to red. Ignore this for now. This comes in. So you link all the reds together, and then you do the same with the black. Black to black. And then I just put my ground, I sanded out and exposed a nice piece of body, and I put a bolt through it, and that's my ground. So red to red, black to black, and then ground it all. So these are 100 amps each. So I have 300 amps, but it's still 12 volt because it's in parallel. Okay, so next I ran a red cord. You'll have to watch the video from the alternator to here, from the house battery to here. That's all you need to do. It's very simple. I have a video on that. So then I got all my wiring, just comes, it's all 14 gauge wire. It just all wires through the van, comes out here, goes into its proper positive, and then this is just a bus bar essentially, the top part. So you're basically looking at all your negative. It doesn't matter what goes on what. Your positives and then your fuses. I haven't hooked up all my fuses because not everything's hooked up. Okay. Just remember, red to red. So then this comes out, one little double crimped wire with terminals here into a switch. So this is handy if we're parked for a bit. We can just turn the whole system off on one switch. That switch comes out here to the battery. So the switch shuts down. My load is using 0 power. Turn it back on. It's a great tool. So the power comes out, 4 gauge wire, 6 gauge wire, to a 100 amp, just like an auto fuse, 120 amp, and that goes from there down, you can't see it, into my load, positive load terminal on my solar controller. That's it. Load, positive, switch if you want, fuse, load, positive. The negative's easy. So the negative comes off this bus bar all the way down into my charge controller. From the charge controller, I have 2 cords going to the battery out. So they go down. One of them's on this 150 amp fuse and it attaches to a red terminal. I could attach it to this or that. It's all the same. Just do not connect a red to black. So same deal. Black cable, battery, down to a black cable. Very, very simple. It's so amazing how simple this is. Next step, solar power. Solar power comes through my wall here, down through and into the charge controller. The charge controller does everything for you. So this is just a communication to my charge controller that I'll mount on my wall, and then that's it. I mean, I thought it was difficult, but it's very easy. So just remember, you're just gonna hook everything through your controller up. So load to load, fuse. Put fuses, I did, just to be safe. Not on my solar, you don't need that, but anything positive, I put a fuse on. So that's it. Let me know if you have any questions. One last thing I didn't go through, we hooked up an inverter as well, a 2000 watt inverter. So just got a little on off switch, and how that's wired up is, you won't be able to see, but the red cable comes through onto a 200 amp fuse into a battery terminal, and then the black goes to ground, and it also has a ground cable on the unit itself, and I just have that, it's that yellow one. So that's it. And then I built a nice little storage area for all of it, and then I'll have a little flip up door there. And then there's my solar charge controller and my Snugger heater there.